Calling from a 419 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Sam. This is Mike. I'm calling from Detroit.
Mike from Detroit. What's on your mind?
I'm calling. I'm a long-time listener, long-time member, and I love your show.
Thank you,
Just
Mike.
say that off the top. I'm calling about a couple of things that have happened the past week, and they're pretty minor. But the first is last night I was playing poker and sitting at a table of 10 middle-aged men who decided to start talking about Trump because his CPAC thing came up. So about 8 of them were like just in love with Trump, in love with what he has to say. Here's a couple of quotes. Just let him build the damn wall. He's the president. He's a real man. They lost, and now they're trying to take away his rights. So this was the level of discourse there. I decided not to engage because I just wanted to take their money anyway.
Maybe record them next time.
It was pretty. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You could record them surreptitiously next time.
Well, never mind surreptitiously. If you dropped the microphone in there, and that was a podcast, just like this conversation of 8 Trump supporters, I
would listen.
I would listen to that. I find that endlessly fascinating.
Just go to a poker room and sit at a table. Bring them up. They'll just start going off.
Wow.
It was nuts. What occurred to me sitting there was that there is nothing in the world that will convince these guys. Nothing in the world that will show them that this man does not have a single interest, their interest at heart at all. There was Latinos, there were blacks, there were working class whites, union members. They were all there, and they were all just in love with him.
Wow. Complete mix of race and what about, but all working class guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I bring this up because I received a fundraising text from Bernie campaign this week, and I started to engage with the guy a little bit because I love Bernie. I love everything he stands for. I worked for him I campaigned for him. I donated to him. I bought a damn T-shirt. I was all in for Bernie. And then when he lost, I switched and went over to Hillary. I'm not going to engage this time with Bernie, and I'm not going to support him this time because I was so upset with the ways that we could not turn Bernie supporters to actually support their candidate. And I don't think that
what percentage
we can trust them again.
What percentage of Bernie supporters do you think supported Hillary?
It's probably a high percentage, but I will tell you, with my Bernie friends on social media and in my workplace, they were so vitriolic against Hillary. They were so horrible online and in public about Hillary and her campaign. I just couldn't. It was horrible. All the effect of that and the ways that they might persuade other people just to decide not to vote or to decide to vote for Jill Stein or whomever. I don't know what kind of effect that has overall, but it's pretty nasty, and I think it had some effect.
I mean, it may have had some effect, but it certainly wasn't inconsistent with what we've seen in the past. In fact, I think more Clinton voters from the 2008 primary abandoned Obama than Sanders supporters. Now,
that may be true.
It's not an apples to apples comparison because there was a decent amount of non-Democratic voters who voted for Sanders, but in some respects that makes it even a more stark difference. All I can tell you is that I wouldn't predicating your support on a candidate based upon, sort of your anecdotal perspective of some of his supporters, I don't think is the wisest way in which to assess who should be the next president, frankly.
Oh, well, so I will absolutely support him if he earns the candidacy. I just can't. I don't want to support him early. I don't think we can trust the Bernie supporters who don't understand the idea of a two-party system.
Who
I think a lot of the
who
Bernie
are you going to support?
I will probably hold off, but Warren is, I think, the most obvious choice at this point.
Fair enough.
I think one other thing. I think Bernie supporters believe that many of the Bernie bros believe that the power of their arguments are going to allow them to win. The guys at the poker table will not be persuaded by the arguments, and I think we only.
Well, I got news for you. Those guys at that poker table are not going to vote for Elizabeth Warren either. They're not going to vote for
not. No, I know,
Kamala Harris.
I think we can't win by expecting people to wake up. I think we can only win by motivating young people and women and people of color to get out and vote.
I mean, the bottom line is in Michigan and in Wisconsin, in particular, you need to motivate people of color to come out and vote. That's when Democrats win. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, I think there's obviously a significant, particularly in Wisconsin, but also in Michigan, a lot of voter intimidation and suppression that I think we won't see the same amount. And maybe a visit or two to those states by the Clinton campaign could have made a difference. It certainly wouldn't have hurt, I don't think. But
I agree.
You got to motivate African Americans to come out and vote in the numbers they traditionally vote in, over these presidential elections. And then, I think the strength of women who have become now a massive driver of our elections, at least in 2018. And I don't think we're ever going to convince your buddies sitting around that poker table. No. But and so that shouldn't be the bellwether. But I think your remarks are a cautionary tale, for somebody who donated and worked for Bernie's campaign, to be disillusioned by some of the people that you were working with. I can understand that. I'm not necessarily. I don't think that's necessarily the best way to vote for a candidate by assessing the worst elements of their supporters. But I guess, at least Elizabeth Warren, I think, is sort of consistent in terms of her politics. I appreciate the call.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks. I mean, I think, let's say, having white supremacists support you is a little bit disqualifying, or that should be a first, flag. That's one of the problems that Donald Trump has. But he also has a lot of other problems, like outwardly courting these people. I don't know if Bernie Sanders in some ways outwardly courts, dead enders and
irony bros.
Yeah, but
numbers on the Hillary McCain defections as opposed to the Bernie Hillary defections. It's
25%, right?
25%.
Where is that? Do you
John Sides wrote a piece in WAPO last year about it.
Okay.
And
1 in 4
from a few polls aggregation.
Okay.
Where was Bernie's at?
Bernie's was at
12%.
12% for 2 polls and 6% for another.
Twice as good.
Now that's Democrats, right?
Yes.
So there was also a percentage of Bernie voters who were not Democrats, who may also not have voted for Clinton. And maybe those people voted for Obama. But in terms of delivering Democrats, I mean...
Well, and any of the non-Democrats that Bernie actually did eventually deliver for Hillary are like dessert,
that's
right?
Bonus, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's a very... I just think if you don't vote for a candidate because you find their supporters on Twitter to be obnoxious, you need to take a step back and say, why am I supporting a specific candidate? Like, on some level, that's just as performative as some of the idiots who are like, I'm going to teach the Democrats a lesson and I'm going to shoot myself in the foot.
This is not beanbag.
This is not beanbag. This is not beanbag.